Welcome to Stories from the Center of the Universe, the podcast about the human experience.
All right, we have Buck Sessoms here. This is going to be a long preamble, so I apologize. But first of all, Buck, welcome. Thank you very much for agreeing to do this with Courtney and me today.
Oh, hey, thanks for having me, Paul. Courtney, it's fun to be here again.
I love it. All right, so I'm going to tell the story of how we landed with Buck today. I had a buddy of mine who said, hey, my son's a sophomore in college. He's thinking about joining the Army or the Marine Corps. Tell me everything, answer a bunch of questions my wife and I have. And I said, well, who's your son talked to before we go anywhere? And he says, oh, he's talked to a couple of recruiters. I'm like, well, as Buck can attest, they're there to sell you on joining the Marine Corps or the Army. And so you should probably talk to somebody who can give you a more balanced and objective sort of perspective on things. Maybe somebody who's lived what your son or daughter is interested in pursuing. And so I thought, wow, I know a lot of people from the military across all the branches. I should bring somebody on, or maybe bring a bunch of them on to talk about their experiences. But we're speaking to an audience of kids that are about to graduate high school or kids that are about to graduate college, and they're thinking about the military as a possibility. Today, we're going to learn a good chunk about the Marine Corps today, even though, Buck, how long has it been since you were in?
7 years. Been retired 7 years. After a 25-year career. Yep.
Active duty career, to be clear.
Active duty, both enlisted and as an officer. So I went through the enlisted recruiter, the salesman, and the officer recruiter. Basically, the guy that he's not trying to sell anything. He's trying to weed out the fluff. He's basically telling you, no, you don't have it. You're not going to get it, kind of thing. Whereas the enlisted recruiter was like, come on, and doing everything he could to sell it to you.
Yeah, that's a great distinction. Yeah. So, Buck, what was it for you about the Marine Corps? After going to college, you had a degree before you enlisted. What was it about the Marines?
I did, yeah. Well, the story is my brother left college and was going to enlist. And I basically was floundering around a little bit in Richmond after college and not really having a direction. So I told him, based on my experiences with Marines and Marine officer candidates at VMI, where I went to college, and my respect for that group, I said, John, hey, why don't we go into the Marine Corps? You know, if we're going to do this, let's go do it full out. Let's join a hard, challenging group, and I have respect for those that I saw that were in the Marine Corps, and it just kind of sounded like an adventure. Didn't really know much about it. My brother John and I were the first in our family of a big family with military background to join the Marines. So it was also kind of, hey, we're going to do our own thing as well, maybe a little bit.
So Buck, my relationship with the Marines, my father's a Marine. My father-in-law is a Marine. I was raised to know and believe that is the best of what the military has to offer. Sorry, Paul. I mean, my experience with the military is having crushes on people who have been in and have served. So I have a great appreciation for everyone who served. Most of them are very good looking people, and were primed for my high school crushes. But that's it. I wanted to learn more and know more about how to get in, the lingo. I mean, there's all this lingo that goes, how do you go from somebody who says, hey, this sounds like an adventure, to understanding what all that, it's like a secret language.
It is. And it comes to you in a fire hose. There's really no way to, unless you're just a voracious reader and you want to pull up a bunch of history books about the Marine Corps' lore, history, battle history, from all the way back from the Civil War all the way through our current wars, and kind of really invest yourself in it, you're going to get a history lesson in spades when you join up. the Marine Corps being a cult, completely own it, is going to indoctrinate you into that cult, and you're going to learn everything there is to know about your ancestors in that cult. Once you go to whatever initial training program that is, whether it be Parris Island, San Diego, or Quantico. Parris Island being the East Coast's boot camp, San Diego being the West Coast boot camp, and Quantico being the officer candidate school. Sorry if people didn't know that.
Buck, so you've been through a lot of training with the Marine Corps, but you've also deployed. In your 25 years, what would you say your hardest set of circumstances were?
Deploying wise?
Or training wise?
The hardest school I ever went, well, flight school was pretty tough, but that was kind of a long slog. The hardest school I went through was Marine Combat Instructor of Water Survival. And that's the one that you've seen the SEALs do, where they tie your arms behind your back and tie your ankles together and throw you over the pool and say, live, for an hour. And underwater swims and swimming with a whole bunch of gear on. And that was a tough school. And having been a competitive swimmer really was the only way I survived that from high school days and college days.
Wait, can you back up? Buck,
yep, sorry.
Say more about what you had on you and the condition of your body. Say that again.
Yeah. So it was a very long swim. I think it was like a mile and a half. I don't know, 5,000 meters or something like that. And about every 500 meters, you're in full combat gear. So Kevlar helmet, and I'll start from the top to bottom. Kevlar helmet, full camouflage utilities. At the time of a flak jacket, but body armor. Your tactical vest that has all of your ammunition and hand grenades and food and water and that kind of thing, your rifle, your boots, your socks. So basically full combat load. And they throw you in the pool and they say, start swimming. And you start going back and forth. And about every 500 meters or so, you can take off a piece of gear. And then you keep going. So by the time you finish that mile and a half or whatever, well, I can't remember exactly what it was, so don't hold me to that. But by the time you finish it, you're down to your skivvy shorts, and you do your last one. And by that point, you feel like you are a rocket ship, which is, kind of weird. But you've been swimming now for a couple of hours back and forth, and you drop a piece of gear off. That was that exercise in that school.
What's your mindset?
I'm sorry?
What is your mindset during that? What are you thinking in your brain?
I'm not going to quit this school. Yeah, no, this is not something I really wanted. I really wanted the prestige of it. You get a little T-shirt and you get to be an instructor and teach the other Marines in your unit how to swim. So it was kind of a prestige thing. They had sent I think 18 Marines over a 2.5 year period to try to pass this school, and no one had passed it. And my buddy, a guy named Bill Murray, and I were the first ones to do so in 3 years and 18 tries. So we were pretty high on ourselves. And when we did one of our deployments to Okinawa in 96 timeframe, that's all we had to do. We weren't running around in the woods with our other infantryman buddy. We were sitting poolside with our whistles, teaching kids how not to drown. So it was a great deployment. Kind of cushy.
So who thrives and who doesn't? I mean, is there a type, or is it just a mindset? Do you know what I'm saying? Maybe it's the same question.
Yeah. Yes. That's been written a lot about recently when you talk about SF, SEALs, Marines, these very hard to do schools, and it's a no quit attitude. When you're enlisted, you really can't quit. They're just going to put you in a position that you can get through 4 years, and then you can get out and do whatever. As an officer, you can quit. You can quit officer candidate school, and or you can resign your commission. It takes a little bit, but in the officer side, that if you don't want to be there, you don't have to, because they don't want someone to be there who doesn't want to. But on the enlisted side, they're like, yeah, hey, we're going to get our 4 years out of you. So you really kind of don't have a choice. You just have to slog it out. But the ones that you see succeed versus the ones that you see kind of don't advance in both, it's just straight attitude. It's, I'm going to succeed in this culture. And this is something that I want to end, however long of a time you're in. I want to end this in good standing. So hold my head up type of thing. Not just to say that, hey, I served, because, well, there's a lot of us, but I served with distinction, or I served with honor. Sorry. That was what it was. Took me a long time to get that out. I apologize.
No, you're good. Yeah, I think reading between the lines of what you just said, grit, determination, perseverance are certainly qualities, and the desire to succeed, to do well, to challenge yourself to the greatest extent possible.
Mm-hmm. And it was a type of, I'm not going to say that was a challenge that was harder than anything else I had experienced in life up to that point. High school athletics, mandatory athletics at school, and then going to VMI, it was just different. It was a different set of challenges that were new, and actually, I have to admit, kind of exciting and kind of fun to go through. There was an article written in St. Christopher's alumni magazine quite a few years ago, and I was interviewed. I think Matt, a couple other of us were interviewed about our military experience, and it was for a Veterans Day issue of the magazines. And I think one of the things I said was just sort of, hey, just learn to embrace the pain, I think is what I said, but learn to embrace the fact that you're going to be uncomfortable most of the time. That growth and strength comes from work and pain. And I mean, honest to goodness, pain and suffering and discomfort and hunger and being cold or hot or whatever it is. Or just studying mental anguish, because a lot of the stuff is studying. There's schools upon schools upon schools in any branch of the service that you have to go through.
Yeah. Buck, I would love for you to describe your boot camp experience, and think of us as 18-year-olds as you're describing it.
Okay. So it was, I had a pretty easy time because I went through the rat line at VMI and did 4 years there. So when I showed up, my experience at Marine Corps boot camp was just sort of, okay, I'm doing this again or whatever. But you could see the people around you. My brother was standing right next to me in boot camp online. We enlisted together and we went to boot camp together. So watching his reactions to a lot of the stuff was, I kind of got that through him rather than through my own eyes, which were different than most people that would do it. One of the interesting parts about boot camp is that there will be, in a group of 70 guys in a platoon, 50 guys in a platoon, there will be somebody from every walk of life you can imagine in that platoon. Every race, every ethnicity, every religion, all of it will be in one platoon. And everybody is brought down to 0 level and made Marines. So when you finish that, there is really no distinction between who the individuals were before and after. So that's kind of one of the biggest things I could say about seeing that. In specifics, are you looking for some more specifics about like individual things that go on in boot camp that were kind of unique and special?
Sure.
Well, it's extremely physical. There's that. You kind of have to be prepared before you go. They will make you what they need of you while you're there, but in order to not have it be so inordinately painful that the experience, excuse my language, sucks, be prepared before you go. Be in a moderate physical condition before you go. Otherwise, it's just going to be a slog for you. That's kind of the biggest thing I would say. Just have a thick skin. I don't know how you grow that, but be prepared. Be prepared for people to get under your skin and try to get you emotional all the time. And how you react to that is going to be also important. Because everybody's seen the movies and everybody's seen the videos. It's a screaming fest, and those guys are jumping around like monkeys just trying to make you go into a panic. And they're pretty good at it. They are professionals at it. So learn how, this doesn't have anything to do with what I did it does. It's what I did as one of my MOSs in the Marine Corps, but the Marine Corps, the word marine is an adjective. It means of or having to do with the sea or ocean, right? Please know how to swim before you go there, before you go to boot camp or officer candidate school. The Marine Corps is not unique in this regard, but the swim tests are pretty significant and pretty debilitating to people who are not comfortable in the water. And you can get recycled and sent back again and again by not being able to pass swimming. That's one of the big things. Yeah, we're Marines. We're on ships all the time. We're amphibious, as they say. Don't think that you need to go there knowing anything about guns or shooting. You don't need to know any of that. They're going to teach you. As a matter of fact, the people that come out of boot camp with the best rifle badge scores, little badges, in different rankings, are the people that came there with 0.0 experience shooting because they have no bad habits. So don't think, hey, listen, if you're a lifelong shooter, hunter, whatever, great. They're going to fix your problems that you don't know that you have with shooting. But don't think that you need to know anything about shooting, tactics, infantry, running around in the woods, playing paintball, or what do they call it, airsoft. You don't have to become a little airsoft ninja before you go to boot camp at all. They're going to teach you.
Tell me about being your parents. So your parents, you have these two sons, and you walk up.
Yeah,
and
that was
Mom, Dad, we're enlisting together in the Marines. See ya. Yeah,
Dad kind of had a chuckle and went and got a scotch. Mom had kittens. She lost her. You know what? She was calling my friends on the phone. And what is he doing? How can we convince him out of this? This is no. This is not what. No. And Lance, sorry, we don't know what to tell you here. He's made up his mind. He's gonna do this, and John's going with him. I went with John. We just decided to go into the Marine Corps together. I went with my brother. I didn't know what branch of service we were going into until I said, "Hey, let's do the Marine Corps." And the recruiter that we talked to actually was pretty good. He wasn't a real in-your-face salesman. He just kind of said, "Okay, yeah, okay, let's go, guys. This is great." Did all the testing with him and everything. But to go back to the story, Mom, she got it eventually. But when we went into when we did contingency operations in Somalia, we actually had to write waivers because of the Sullivan Law and send them back to Mom to sign. she went, no, the Sullivan Law is a law that says that the only two surviving sons of the same family cannot go into the same combat zone or something to that effect because of the survival of your family's name or whatever. And it was because of the 5 or 7 Sullivans that were all on a ship that went down together. So we had to sign that waiver and fax it back to Richmond, Virginia from a ship off the coast of Somalia. It caused some
I bet your mom
discontent.
was so happy to do it. I bet she really enjoyed that.
No, she had kittens. It was bad. Dad had to rub her earlobes for a little while on that one. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Well, so let's talk about what it's like to deploy, to go through the whole mobilization process, and then what it's like in a combat zone kind of thing. And
can I ask a question for that? I'm going to jump in on your question here, Paul.
Yep.
Take us through a little bit before that. So I'm a young person and I've decided, yep, I want to be in the Marines. What do I do now? Do I
You go to you go talk to a recruiter. And the Marines nowadays have professional recruiters. So these are staff NCOs and NCOs who that's their job in the Marine Corps. They don't come from another MOS, do recruiting duty for a little while and go back. They actually do it for their career or a large chunk of their career. And they're very good at it. And they're very good at explaining, not the sales part, yes, but explaining what it's going to take and how to prepare you to succeed. So go see one of these recruiters. They're probably going to know their job. They go to a pretty tough, pretty long school to learn how to do it. And they will sit you down and show you videos and give you pamphlets and literature and talk to you about the 30 some odd jobs in the Marine Corps that you can do as an enlisted Marine. And you will have to take a SAT type aptitude test to figure out where your aptitudes lie, and honestly, whether or not you have the basic intelligence level to do the job. And that will also kind of tell your recruiter that SAT test, and it just generalized subjects, right? Nothing, you're not doing calculus or, molecular biology on this exam. This is very basic stuff. But it will also tell your recruiter maybe where they should guide you in choosing one of those MOS jobs. And my brother and I did, obviously, with, having college degrees under our belt, we did very well on that test. And the recruiter wanted to put us in intelligence, human intelligence, counterintelligence, something like that. And we said, no, if we're going to enlist in the Marine Corps, we want to be infantrymen. We want to run around with guns, screaming and yelling in the woods and painting our faces green. That's what we wanted to do. Because that's what we thought Marines did. We didn't really know the big Marine Corps. Hey, there's some other jobs, and some of these are very technical and will actually maybe hold you in good stead in the future when you get out. But we wanted to kind of be studs and run around and scream and yell, which we did. So anyway, back to that. After you do that, you take a physical test, just like I was saying, hey, maybe be physically prepared, because your recruiter will not send you to boot camp unless you can pass the minimum physical fitness requirements to actually go there. The swimming thing is a different story. He's not going to test you on swimming. So again, please maybe take lessons if you're a non-swimmer. And if you are a swimmer, you're fine. You're good. They'll teach you as well. But be comfortable in a pool. And then you get your date they call your ship date, where you will go off to boot camp, and you will go there and do that for 10 weeks. And it's tough and it's scary, but it's completely doable by just about anybody, and you'll come out a different person. We should talk about officer candidate school too. That this is the enlisted side, but we should also talk about officer candidate school, which is a kind of a completely different animal. But if you want to talk about that before the deploying or after, I'm good with that.
No, that works. Let's talk about the ways you can become an officer in the Marine Corps, because there are multiple routes, right? And then we can dive deeper on the way you actually became an officer.
Yeah, the first way is to go to the United States Naval Academy and choose a Marine Corps option. That's probably the best. Let's not call it the best way. That's the premier way to do it. Go to Canoe U and go Marine option. The next way is to go to a school that offers Naval ROTC and choose the Marine option, and try to get an ROTC scholarship, which pays for your school. It's a good scholarship, and is very competitive now. The third way is to walk into a officer selection officer in Ashland, Virginia. The Marine Corps one is right there in the center of the universe, and which is the one I went to, and say, I'd like to join the Marine Corps. And they'll say, great. Do you have a college degree? I do. And they'll go, okay, great. And I need your transcripts. I need this, that, and the other. Oh, you have 4 years of naval science, or whatever. That's what they'll do. And then they'll figure out if, based on the needs of the Marine Corps at the time and your qualifications, it's competitive now. It's very competitive. When I went through it, it wasn't. They were searching. They were looking for officer candidates. And the other way is to go to enlist, and then go through what they call the enlisted commissioning program. So after about 2 years of enlisted time, you can apply to go to officer candidate school and become a Mustang officer, which is a prior enlisted officer.
And there's also something fairly new, Buck. I'm pretty sure you know about, because we talked about it a few days ago. Isn't there a way where you're in college, you're maybe a freshman or a sophomore, and there's a way by the time you graduate, without going through ROTC, you can do some things in the summers?
Yeah, I think that's PLC. I think they're calling that PL. I'm not sure exactly what the term is now, but you go in the summers without being in ROTC, and you go to officer candidate school in 2 different summers broken up. And but I'm not exactly sure how it works, but I believe that's the way it does. It's like 2 6-week periods instead of 1 10-week period.
My father did that. That's what my father did.
Yep. I think that's been around for a long time. I think so. Again, I'm just not super familiar with it. Sorry. But and then once you go to officer candidate school, which is very different than enlisted boot camp. It's quite a bit different. What that is more of a physical gut check. Hey, we're going to really put you through the physical ringer to find out if you have what it takes to be in the front of a bunch of enlisted Marines physically. We will teach you in the school that comes after officer candidate school how to be a Marine Corps officer. But we want to know if you can be a physical stud hammer right now. And and can handle a lot of pain and suffering right now during this 10-week period. They don't really teach you a lot. They evaluate you a lot. A little bit of leadership, a little bit of uniform wear, a little bit of marching, but it's very little. It's not like boot camp where they really teach you a lot of things in that 10-week period. Officer candidate school, they kind of just evaluate you on who you are. And then once you become an officer at the end of that, then they send you off to the basic school to learn how to be a basic Marine Corps officer without a job. You don't know what job you're going to do unless you're a pilot or a lawyer. And then you've already signed up to be one of those 2. And those are the only 2 contracts that you can go into officer candidate school with, knowing what you're going to be afterwards. And then at the basic school, when I went through, and I imagine it's the same way, the Marine Corps wants a quality spread of officers. So they take all 275 Marine officers in your class, men and women, and they rank you from 1 to 275. Then they divide that into thirds, a top third, a middle third, and a bottom third. So if you're in the top of the top third, you're going to get whatever choice you want in terms of MOSs, military occupational specialties. If you're in the top of the middle third, you're going to get your first choice. If you're in the top of the bottom third, you're going to get your first choice. Conversely, if you're in the bottom of the top third, you're going to get your last choice, even though you're in the top third of your class. That way, there's a quality spread, because there are very sought after officer MOSs, and everybody wants to do those, right? Nobody wants to do some of the lesser romantic, exciting jobs that can be offered. So in order to get good and lower performing officers in the mix of jobs, that's how they get what they call a quality spread. And I do believe it is still practiced. And there's really no way to game that game. And
I was going to say, you can't game that, because if you try, like, I'm going to be in the top third, you could be at the bottom of the top third.
Bottom, you can be at the, yes, exactly.
So I mean, only being mediocre at this point is that's if I'm really going to try and game it. But even that doesn't feel.
Yeah.
Like you
can. So put it a different way, and this is not meant to be negative towards logisticians, but your logisticians are going to be as good as the infantry guys in terms of aptitude, intellect, those sorts of things because of that spread. And so there's vibrancy across every function in the Marine Corps.
There is. Yeah, absolutely. And you'll get some of your bottom performers from officer candidate schools in some of those prime MOSs as well. So they may, once they get into those, be brought up to another level. So I think the Marine Corps does a good job with that in how they thought out that way of getting quality spread.
Let's do a quick check. Courtney, has Buck said anything that you didn't understand? Because he's done a pretty good job of spelling out some of the acronyms.
So far, I've been tracking. You gave me the MOS, so I got that. So far, I'm on board.
All right, I love it.
I like those words, tracking and on board. It's like you went to boot camp. Oh
I know, God. It really is. I was trying to impress you with my military speech.
Yeah.
All right, you ready for my Marine Corps joke? Buck, I may have told you this joke before, so I apologize if you're hearing this a second time. All right, in the Army, there are infantry squads. There are 9 people in those positions, and all of their MOSs are infantrymen, right? The Marine Corps also has 9 people in infantry squads. 8 of them are infantry by MOS. What's the 9th person? What's their specialty? Anybody know?
Navy corpsman.
Photographer. Sorry, I had to throw that one out there.
Yeah.
And by the way, you basically described this, but you didn't use the slang term. Can you describe what being a jarhead means?
Infantryman, yes, an 03XX, 03 rifleman, 03 mortarman, 03 assaultman, 03. So it's an infantryman. An infantryman. What most people think of when they think of sort of a frontline combat troop.
Why jarhead?
Jarhead comes from those high and tight, flat top haircuts.
Yeah. The other thing I've heard, and you tell me if this is right or wrong. Think of a Marine recruit just starting boot camp. They are, to use your term, you start at 0. You're an empty vessel, right?
The Marine Corps will fill you up. Yes, exactly. With what they want you to know. Yep. And then some other terms, leatherneck. Right. You've heard that one. Marines are leathernecks. And that comes from a leather collar that was worn back in the day. It's just a uniform item. And there's they say it to keep the head more upright and stiff, but it could have also served as possibly armor from saber slashes or whatever. But yeah, there's some debate on that one.
So what does it mean to be deployed?
Deployed is what you sign up to do, and it's going overseas to either train or be a force in readiness, a presence overseas, or to go to combat, to actually fight. Hey guys, it's gonna be a little bit noisy here while they jump in, if you don't mind.
Sure.
No, it's all good. I don't have any more Marine jokes. That's my only Marine joke.
I don't know if I have any Army jokes.
Well, you know what Army stands for. Ain't ready for Marines yet.
There you go.
And by the way, I don't subscribe to that.
Yeah, the Marines is.
What's the Marines? We didn't hear you, Buck.
We lost
you.
Sorry. Sam's misguided children. Excuse me.
All right, so you go overseas, you get trained, you're a force of readiness, you have presence, or you're going into combat.
Yeah, the Marines do this thing called a Marine Expeditionary Unit, which is an infantry battalion reinforced, a reinforced squadron, because the Marines have their own Air Force, for lack of a better word. We have our Air Wing, and we have our own logistics. So it's an Air Wing, an infantry combat unit, and a logistics unit. So air, ground, and logistics. And they all get on Navy ships and they go float around in an area, the Mediterranean, the South Pacific, other places. They go to Australia, and they just basically float around and wait for something to pop off. And they train with our allies, and there's always Marine Expedition Units out. So on each coast, there is, at each one of the big Marine Corps bases, they're working up to go on MEUs, Marine Expeditionary Units, MEU, and there's one in training, one deployed, and one that's just gotten back that's standing down, getting ready to go through that whole cycle again. So on the East Coast, there's the 22nd, 24th, and 26th. Those numbers just they mean the East Coast MEUs. And so one of them is deployed right now. One of them is back here training, getting ready to take their place. And another one has just gotten back. And there's Marine Expedition Units that go out of the West Coast, and there's ones that go out of Okinawa. The Okinawa ones will be going to Guam here soon. We'll be reducing our presence on Okinawa and moving to Guam because of politics.
Yeah, the simplified way that the Army thinks about this notion of having a deployed unit, one preparing to deploy, and then one resting, refitting, whatever you want to describe it as, was sort of this red, yellow, green cycle.
That's basically what it is. And then other units will go on unit deployment programs to places like Okinawa, or that's really kind of the one that I'm thinking, or some of them will actually go down to South America on different types of special purpose MAGTAFs, Marine Air Ground Task Force, Special Marine Air Ground Task Force, to do a specific job overseas, whether it be humanitarian assistance, shoring up our embassies, foreign internal defense, FID, which I think, Paul, you're familiar with some of those terms. And they'll send these special purpose MAGTAFs overseas to do that kind of stuff. Sorry, I had my finger in front of the camera. And so as a Marine, expect to deploy a third of your time in the Marine Corps. Expect to be overseas.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Buck, out of your 25 years, I'm guessing you were on a ship or in a combat zone, or you were a presence somewhere around the world for what, 8-9 years?
Yeah, about actually a little bit more, 10, 11. Yeah. And there's also non-combatant jobs that you will have an opportunity to do in the Marine Corps that may actually involve some travel. Like I was with the Presidential Helicopter Squadron, so I got to go all over the world with the man. And that was kind of neat. And my wife likes to point out that I was away from home during those 4 years, average of about 225 days a year. So wow. You're gone a lot. You know, even that was not, I'm staying in nice hotels and seeing beautiful places, but still gone.
Wow. So, tell me a little bit about this. So, you go in, you serve. What makes you stick around? So, Buck, what did you have to serve for when you signed up? Being enlisted man, was that 3 or 4 years?
4 years.
And then you went into officer training school because most people don't do that, do they? I mean, once they finish being enlisted, they either
get out.
Yeah.
Or yeah, but the Marine Corps also does something where we really try to. Would you hold that, baby?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, say hi real quick. Hi, daughter.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
You don't mind holding that while I drive, do you?
Of course not.
Yeah. The Marine Corps does like to pull from their enlisted ranks to make their officers. They do it quite a bit, and recruit fairly heavily from their own ranks to find their officers, and give quite a few opportunities for young enlisted Marines to do that.
So, Buck, did your brother John do that as well?
No, he did his 4 years and went back to college, finished college, and went out and did well. And he'll tell you the Marine Corps definitely helped him do that.
So if you had advice to a young person who's considering this is one of, let's say they're looking at a couple different things. They can either go into the Marines or they can go try and do a training program for something, pick all the different things, or they can go home and try and work for their parents' company, their next door neighbor, or something. What would your thoughts be to someone who was considering this?
Do it. Do not be afraid of it. But realize a few things. You can do it. You will accomplish it. And you will be just fine at it. You're not going to make a lot of money doing it. But you're probably not going to make a lot of money even with a bachelor's or even a master's coming right out into the world. You're going to have to crank for 10 years before you really start to, I think, see the rewards that you would expect, right? So maybe take advantage of that time when you're just out of school to go do it now while you're young, while you're strong, while you have the flexibility to go and do it. Because it really is going to give you something. It's going to give you some experience, some global or galactic situational awareness maybe that you didn't have before you went into, maybe a little maturity. And if you do 4 or 24 years, you can say that you're a veteran at that point, and it holds weight. And there's other benefits that you can glean from it, but we could talk about those, at a different time. Because I really don't know what they are that much anymore, except for GI Bill for college, and VA home loans.
Well, I mean, one of the things my father would always tell me is that we have this line he uses, which is remember who you are and what you represent. And I've never met somebody who went to the Marines who didn't know who they were and what they represented. There is this sort of understanding that for a lifetime, you belong. You're part of something.
Yeah, and the Marine Corps is a little special in that regard when I go back to that cult mentality that the Marine Corps has. If you drive down the road and you just look at the cars on the highway, if the person was in the Marine Corps, you can guarantee they have a Marine Corps sticker on their car. Guarantee it. If they were in the Navy, maybe. Air Force, probably not. Army, yeah, most of them. But I can guarantee you that every Marine veteran's got a sticker on his car, or multiple tattoos. So I think I'm probably the only Marine on the planet that is still tattooless.
What is it about the culture that leads to all these tattoos?
naval history, our naval traditions. Yeah, I think that's where it started, but yeah, they're covered. And then the rules go back and forth quite often about them. Our leadership will come in and say, okay, no, you can't have tattoos below your short sleeve line or on your legs or whatever it is. And then they'll come in and say, no, we don't care. That's part of our culture. And then it'll be fine for a couple of years, and then they'll change it. So it's a back and forth between, I guess, the conservative nature of whatever leader is in the Marine Corps at that time. But yeah, a lot of tattoos.
So, Buck, let's say that the 18-year-old's now 28. They're 10 years in. What are the reasons to do another 10 to get to 20?
Because it's a great retirement. And I can speak from experience. If you're 18 and you do 20 years, you're 38 years old when you get out. 38. That's it. You're 25. You're in your early 40s. 25 years. You've got so much time to have a second career, plus that first career, and you have a security blanket around you, health care, your pension, all of those things that if your second career doesn't quite pan out, or you have a few missteps getting into it or transitioning from the military to the civilian world, which some people have struggled with. Not gonna lie, some people have struggled getting out of the military and finding the same purpose, esprit, brotherhood, whatever it is, when they've gotten out. But I think a lot of people also do. But you have that security blanket around you. You have that that retirement to basically allow you to search maybe a little bit more than others would be able to.
Yeah, and sorry, real quickly, Courtney, back to this idea of all the experiences you've described today. You're actually becoming worldly, literally, because you're traveling around the globe and you're experiencing different cultures, even within your own unit, to your earlier point around the demographics
that's kind of even more, I think, important than the global travels, is the fact that you will serve with so many different types of people. I mean, there was guys that graduated Harvard and guys that were straight out of the trailer in my units. It's everything. It's everything you can imagine, every type of person you can imagine from every background. You're going to learn stuff from them, and you're going to visit their homes and be friends with them for the rest of your life. And they'll teach you more than most. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, your brother went on. What are you doing now, Buck?
I fly helicopters. Yeah, no, I'm not still. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're saying I'm sorry to me? I thought you were talking with your wife. What are you doing now? You fly helicopters?
Yeah, no, I do. I fly helicopters for the hospital in Wilmington, North Carolina. So it was one of the skills I got from the Marine Corps. Was they made me a helicopter pilot. So when I retired, I decided that I wanted to continue doing that. I hadn't had enough of that yet. And I have a lot of friends who did have enough of that. They did not want to get into another helicopter ever in their lives. They went back to graduate school or whatever, got their JD, MBA, and went off and did other things. But no, I still like flying. So that's what I continue to do. A lot of teachers got out and have gone back to teach both in the graduate level and in middle school, elementary level.
Courtney's going to not be happy with this next question because I'm going to ask a parent question. Our primary audience are young adults, but Courtney and I are parents like you are. Going into having one of my children go into combat scares me, right? How do I get over that fear?
Gosh, Paul, that's a tough question.
It's a really tough question,
know.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't have an answer to it either.
Yeah. I think maybe. May I ask my wife a question about that?
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Hey, Jackie, how did you deal with me going to combat so many times? Like, that's a spousal question, but maybe it's still a loved one, right?
Yep,
that's right.
Yes, but I think from a spouse perspective, you are ingrained in the military family. So you have all of those other spouses to rely on that are in similar situations.
Support mechanism.
Where so you have a built-in support system. So from a parental standpoint, I think that you need to. I would have to reach out and try to find groups of like-minded and living the same situation you are to help understand what it's like to be a parent.
And
so
really,
that's
the other question is along those lines is if you're a young person wanting to go into the military and you know that one or both of your parents would be very worried and not excited about it, how do you handle that? Buck, it sounds like you handled it by going in with your brother saying, I'm sorry you feel that way. We're going to go anyway. Is there any advice on how you might present that now that you've been in it for as many years as you have?
Yeah. I would say that the odds, the statistics of, and that's kind of hard to say, right? Because the emotions are going to be a little bit high, but driving on the highway, me flying a helicopter is statistically safer than me driving on the interstate. And it shouldn't, that sounds backwards, but it is. Statistically, very few of my friends were killed or wounded in combat. I'd have to say of my personal friends, more have died in and this is not going to help your argument at all, but more of my friends have died in training than have died in actual combat. So that's not going to help the parents' idea of or give them any at ease, but it is sort of the truth of the situation. Gosh, that's a tough one. I think that is something that each person will have to draw out themselves in conversations with their loved ones, in conversations with their kids and their loved. And also, you also have to realize that if you want to serve, there are a lot of those MOSs, those military operational specialties, which will significantly reduce your chances of going to combat. And I hate to say that, but it's true. It's true. If you're a data analyst, you're probably not going to be walking through a minefield or assaulting a beachhead or parachuting out of a helicopter. If you're a warehouseman, someone who's a logistician, probably not doing a lot of that. So you can choose to serve and not serve as a frontline combatant. And there's a lot of different ways to do that, and different branches of our service that offer more of those types of jobs.
That was a shot at the Army, I think, Courtney.
And some very, very technical techniques.
Yeah, Buck, I think I saw some stat years ago that said out of the uniformed services, 10% will actually go to a dangerous place and participate in combat or be on the front line. It's
really small. And you have to think about, like, those frontline combatants really only make up about 25% or less of the services. Everything else is designed to support that 20%. Everything else, it's a crazy number, right? To think about. Wait a minute, I thought that all Marines and all soldiers, and all of them went out. No. Most of them are supporting the very few that actually do, which is kind of an interesting thing. There's an interesting statistic here in the Marine Corps about that I know from my helicopter piloting is that our biggest helicopter, for every hour that they fly that helicopter, it takes 35 man hours of work to turn wrenches on it. So that's the kind of statistic that is kind of mind-blowing, is that every hour that they fly a helicopter, 35 hours of people working on it to keep it doing so.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
All right.
And those guys aren't out, like I said, assaulting a beachhead. They're turning wrenches and learning super valuable, super important skills that they will take with them.
Courtney, any final questions you've got before I ask Buck a fairly generic open question?
I really don't. I mean, I guess my big thing would be to say that it's fascinating. It's fascinating having known you when you were young, Buck, when you were a young Buck. Look what we did there. Having known you when you were young with your brother, you were impressive in high school as far as just being a leader and being a part of things. At least that was from my perspective, my young eyes looking up. And this is just awesome what you've done. And really, quite frankly, what I'd like to say is that your wife is pretty amazing, because I'm a wife at this point, and having someone leave for that many days while you're holding down what is its own branch of a mother military is pretty amazing.
Thanks. And to the point of the people that you're going to be showing this to or talking to, is that I was other than the fact that I went to VMI, but I went there because my grandfather went there and my father went there. I really didn't have any other choice on where I was. I was not going to UVA. Let's just put it that way. I was going to VMI. The fact that Buck Sessoms, joined the military, joined the Marine Corps, and then made a career out of it. Nobody in their right minds would have thought that would have come out of me in a million years. So if you have people that are hearing this thinking that I'm not a very military, I don't know anything about that. Is that for me? Yeah, sure. It can be. The military is going to teach you what you need to know. You could be a pretty non-military person and do just fine. Like you ask some of our high school buddies, and you ask some of the guys I went to college with, if they ever thought that would have come out of me, and they would have said, never in a million years.
No, if I was an odds maker, Buck, and I was asked to put odds on you doing a 25-year active duty stint in the Marine Corps as a grunt and as a pilot, I would have said the odds are so low that
infinitesimally small. Yeah,
math can't handle it cleanly.
Right. So, I hope that a lot of those youth are like, gosh, that is the farthest thing from my mind. But there's a little something in there. There's a little interest. There's a little something in there. And I can tell you, just like in my actual experience, that if you're floundering at all and you really feel that maybe this will square you away and guide you, just realize, hey, 4 years is not a long time, is a drop in the bucket of our adult lives. So you can do 4 years and you won't even know it happened. So I'd say, go for it. If there's somebody that's doubting their reasons for it.
Now, I love that advice too. Like if you're floundering, if you're sitting around and you're just not really making much of yourself, you're not really locking and loading, you kind of don't know which direction you're supposed to go, who you are, you don't have the skill set, you don't have any connections, this will give you all that. You come
sure
out
will.
with all those things.
And it sure will. Speaking of the Marine Corps, as opposed to the other branches of the service, if you're looking to get financial, like bonuses, sign-up bonuses, extra money for this, extra money for that, don't join the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps is not giving that stuff out. The Air Force is, Navy, I think. You'll have to talk to the individual recruiters. Marine Corps wants you to join because you want to be a Marine. They don't really care about all the other fluff, and they're not handing it out like the other branches are. So you do have to kind of weigh that too. And the recruiters will tell you what's what. They're not gonna lie to you in terms of what monies are available.
Yeah, the Navy has trouble getting people to be on submarines for months at a time, and so the bonuses are quite appealing.
They'll give you quite a bit of scratch. Yeah.
All right, Buck. as we close here, anything that we haven't covered that you think an 18 or 22-year-old should hear about the Marine Corps?
About the Marine Corps specifically?
Yes.
It's very hard, but it's very worth it. We have the best uniforms. And we march the best. And here's one that's very serious. The Marine Corps is the smallest. It is the smallest branch of our service, but we have everything. We have our own boats. We have our own planes. We have our own helicopters. We used to have our own tanks. We don't have those anymore, but we have our armored vehicles. So you kind of get, it's like a little baby Department of Defense. It's all encompassing, but also realize that we do go on ships for long periods of time and we deploy amphibiously. So if that's interesting to you more than sort of like the European stuff that the Army gets to do, which is also very attractive, European and Asian stuff that the Army gets to do in very large bases, then maybe the Marine Corps is what you should look at.
Yeah, and this is just kind of funny to me. The Marines and the Army do not care about the quality of life off of base or off of post. The Air Force and Navy care deeply, and so they find much better real estate for their sailors and airmen.
Yeah. No, there's well, yeah. I mean, we here in North Carolina, the Marine Corps base has some of the finest beaches in North Carolina. Camp Pendleton is in between San Diego and Los Angeles. It's some of the most prime real estate ever. Okinawa is one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. So there are some garden spots, but then there's also 29 palms in the deserts of California that aren't exactly places you want to stay for very long.
Cool.
There's good and bad.
Buck, in all sincerity, I love the Marine Corps. I'm a big fan of Marines. Anybody who's gone through, whether it's 4 years or 25 years, they have a ton of respect for me. I have a ton of respect for you, Buck. I am very grateful for your service. Very grateful that guys like you were willing to serve for as long as you did and do really, really hard things. And we haven't talked about your combat, but you can check out the other 2 recordings we did together to learn more about that on the other podcast.
Buck, thank you. This is lovely. And thank you to your wife and daughter who have had to endure this.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah. But I'm home now, driving them to chauffeuring them around. So that's right. Reaping the rewards.
Nice. Thanks, Buck.
Hey, thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd also really appreciate if you'd rate and review us. You can find us at scodupodcast.com.